Scrappy friends. Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. So it's Wednesday and I'm ready to do a tool demonstration with you today. I'm so excited. I love doing these. It's just fun for me to get my tools out and play with them. And I'm going to highlight two of the tools today, two that came out back in September. The first one is called a Square Link. It's a border making cartridge, and so this will punch out into a chain. And then the second one is going to be the Elegant Diamond border punch. So those are the two I'm going to spotlight today, and then we're going to come back in a couple weeks actually, and I'm going to do the three that came out when Christmas items were launched last week or so. But today I'm just going to focus on those two. Let me go ahead and flip you around and we'll go ahead and get started. These are what I like to call generic punches, and because I feel like what comes out of them are very generic looking punch outs, they don't have a theme specifically to them, and they really can be used on multiple different layouts. And so that's why I like to use the term generic. It just kind of lets us know that it's something that we could probably use over and over again. So let's go ahead and start with the Square Link, and we'll come back to the Elegant Diamond. I'm gonna call it lace. I just know I am because it looks like lace to me, but it is called Elegant Diamond. Okay, so it is a border making cartridge. Let me show you. I already have one punched out here, so if you haven't seen it, this is what it looks like. And when I first saw the marketing material on this, it reminded me of something, and I know some of you long-term creative memories people will hopefully agree with me, but it reminded me of these. I pulled them out to show, and those that don't know, these were out years and years ago. I want to say even old Creative Memories company put these out. It was before we had all the wonderful tools that we have now. We would buy these in sheets, different colors, and I like to call them rickrack. I call all of them rickrack, but I think they were also a pack called zigzags. And I don't know the exact names, but this is what the punch reminded me of when I first saw it. And it can probably layer up right on top of there. So if you have these, you might want to bring some out and mix and match them up. So I just thought that was funny, and I feel like, is this like a throwback or a retro, a comeback for Creative Memories to kind of bring us back to when we had these? But anyway, so those are fun. I have way too many of these still in my stash. I really should keep these out and try and use some with this punch, but we'll see. I like this one. It's a lot more petite than the other one. So this one, I feel like it could get a lot more use out of them. And of course you can punch any color you want. Another thing this reminded me of right away when I saw it and punched it out is braces, like for your teeth. And I don't know if I have any more brace layouts to do of my children, but I'm gonna go, if I do come across it, I'm gonna probably incorporate this somehow. So I don't know why, but that does remind me of braces. Okay, so let's see what we can do with this. I have a few samples already prepped for today. So here's a sample I have. If you punch this out twice and just adhered it to a piece of, let me bring in a piece of cardstock so you can actually see. There we go. And punched out two of them and put one on each side of this strip of paper, it would look like that. So that's kind of a new and different design element. And I purposely did it on the pastel-y colors because when this launched, it came out with Wonderful Day collection, which is a darker, more rich, kind of elegant kind of paper pack. But I wanted to show that it could just be as playful and fun for other layouts too. So here it is on some springy type paper. And I just, like I said, punched out two and put it onto a strip of paper. So that's one idea. And I always like to show, when I first get a punch, I always do kind of the same things to see to get me familiar with the punch and to see what I can do with it. So one of the things I like to do is what I call the shadow. And I punched out two, and then I punched out three, two on the darker one, and then one on the lighter one, and then just overlapped it to kind of give it a shadow. So that's pretty nice too. I wanted to show also, before we get into it, the marketing material that came out with this this border making cartridge because there were a lot of great borders and I couldn't possibly make all of those to show you. So let me call it up here on the screen real quick. Here it is. So look at all the different ways that you can use this punch. I mean, the zigzag off to the left-hand side and with the little title going through it, that's really nice. I love the one in the center. That's the shadow effect like I was just showing you. They just spaced out the background pieces a little bit more and then layered it up on top of some pattern paper. It looks so nice and elegant and a few little embellishments. And then the one on the right hand side with the diamonds, I love that. I think that might be embellishment pieces, but you could recreate that with a square punch or maybe even the square tile punch if you have it. So I like that border a lot off to the side, and it has the edges trimmed out like I showed you with the purple one. So anyway, I wanted to show that before we get going here, just so you kind of have an idea of all the different variations that we can do with it. Okay, so let me show you a couple borders that I came up with just to kind of, as I was playing, nothing super fancy, but I think that that's how this punch or this border making cartridge was designed, not to be super fancy, but just give us some new texture and stuff to our layout. So this is the one we're going to work on. And I know at first glance you're like, what is that? But I want to show you, I want to walk you through this one, and I'll go ahead and punch out a brand new one and bring in other tools. And that was my point with this border. And the next one I'm going to show you is that, you know, bring in your other tools. What tools do you like? What tools are you comfortable with? And bring it in and see how you can use it with the new punch. Okay, so here I just punched it out, and this one's even a shorter one, so that's another thing I like to do, is to make them shorter and not make them the whole 12 inches. I think that adds a lot of interest to our page. But then I brought in my favorite tool, one of my favorite tools, not the tag punch. I know some of you are thinking the tag punch, but is the custom cutting system, and I brought in the circles. So let's go ahead and do that. This one punches out super nice because there's not a lot of detail. So it punches out a lot nicer and easier, and it probably won't get snagged up on this one like maybe some of the other ones that have more detail. So there it is on this is wisteria, shimmer paper, wild wisteria. And then let me bring in my custom cutting system. I'm using the medium circle and just a few scraps of paper, which is what I always do. I just use my scraps to play around with, and even if I'm creating on a page, this will come in handy using scraps. So I'm going to use the medium circle, the inside track. We're going to use the blue and the green on the inside. Blue is the smaller one when we're on the inside, so I'm going to cut that one first, and I'm going to hold my template in place. So after I cut the blue one, I'm going to bring in the green one. So I want to create that ring. There we go. I just threaded it through. Actually, I went like that. And just find it wherever, and this is, you know, move it around depending on your layout where you want it. I have it laying right about there in the sample. I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it down a little bit so it doesn't move around. And then I just took this circle and layered it over the side like that. And the reason I went with this circle is to kind of cover up some of that but still have some of it exposed, because now I could use this area to house my title or some embellishments, and that's my main goal, a simple border that I can now embellish around. So I have this title, living my best life, and so I would probably put it somewhere down here. I would put it anywhere around here, and I might move it as I bring in some of these flowers. And then I would just start tucking things in. See, I'm already going to move it. I'm going to put like a big flower up here, and then maybe just keep tucking in. So look like that. Now, I am covering it up, but you'll be able to see behind that it's it's still there. And the whole idea is you can use smaller flowers if you wanted to see more of it, but it's acting more as a cluster base area for me instead of just being a circle and a ring. Let's try this one first. And then I have a couple flowers here. This is actually a purple one. And doing it on my page, of course, everything would be stuck right onto the page. And then maybe this one I can bring down under like that. So I have things just now coming off. And then I have one left. You could use it, not use it, place it around the edge of your paper, something like that. So that's my border idea for that one. I just love having a piece of it popping out, and it gives that very generic look, but I've added my theme elements to it. And let me show you one more using this punch. Here it is right here. And this one I brought in the scallop circle and a little heart punch. Now several of our punches give you a little heart fallout, so it really depends on what you're going for there, but I'm just bringing in a little teeny heart punch that my son gave me these a long time ago, and hopefully it even still works, because when I was using it the other day it wasn't working that well. So that's what I brought in for here because I liked the size of that heart, but like I said, so many of our other tools do that as well. You know what, I didn't use this one on the last one. Let's use that. Our little shapes, then that's what I'm going to bring in this circle scallop punch for, and I'm going to turn it to the number 1 position. That gives me just the scallop, and I am going to punch 5 of those because you'll see I have an odd number there, and I'm going to punch, let's see, let's do the scallop on this pink. And then I just evenly spaced them out, and I actually took this one and went behind. And I didn't want to come super close, so I spread it out. And I was able to get 5 on here. And then I just left the ends open. I want to create this little ring. So this one does waste a little bit of paper because I'm only going to use the ring. And but I can always save for a future layout or something else. Put it in my embellishment tray or box and use it for something else. So I'm going to punch out 5 of these. Adhered these in the center. Might be easier to put it on here. I skipped every other one. And then I came back in with the ring. Now, I did pop each one up on a little bit of foam tape the first time I did that. You can see that there. But I did have to trim all of those down, so that took a little bit of time, but I liked the effect because it just gives it a lot more dimension and kind of looks like a little frame around that heart. But for today's purpose, I'm just going to put them on really quickly for us here without the foam tape, but I highly recommend it. But you can see how thin this is, and so I really had to cut them down and align it so that it wasn't popping through, poking out anywhere. And I do feel like I could see it a little bit in areas, but it's not bad. Once it's in your book, it won't be that noticeable. Okay, and there's my border so far, and I'm going to bring in the scrap paper and the little heart and punch out 5 little hearts. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of repositionable tape and accent right there in the center, which just kind of brings this border to life. This actually looks like a cute little baby border. And now it doesn't even look like the original border that I started with, which was this one right here. So just look at your tools and find other things that you can add to it to kind of change it up. Okay, so that one is what I wanted to show you with the square link border making cartridge. Let me clean this up really quickly. And now this one, I am in love with this one. It punches out so incredibly nice. It's just, there's so much detail in this one. I haven't had a problem with it snagging, and it just punches out. And to me, it really does look and feel like a piece of lace. The minute I punched it out on black, I was just like, wow, I love it. So let's look at a couple things that we can do just punching it out and using it as is. What I like to do is you can take a second one. This one I just punched out onto some scrap paper, and it nestles so nicely into the first one. And it just creates, you can do like a rainbow effect or an ombre look. 2 is a nice size, but you can just keep adding to it. Just keep nestling it until you get the size that you want. And look how beautiful that is. Just using the punch out, not doing anything special to it at this point, just nestling it in together like that. Another thing that we can do with this one is anytime there's an opening in the center of the punch, always consider threading it with something. And so here I've just threaded it with a small piece of cardstock, and that's probably less than even 1/8 of an inch, but somewhere around 1/8 of an inch should fit in right in there, and gives it another whole look as well. I also I've done this one with several other punches where I take one punch and then I cut it out, and I've nestled it together, or overlapped it on this one actually. And I just like to add this kind of like a little cut file on my page just to bring in texture. I've done this with like the honeycomb and the fishnet, and it just adds a little bit of texture to your overall layout. And by that I mean it's gonna have that kind of rough lacy look. And let me show you what it would look like tucked behind a photo like that. I like this look. I love to do this with any kind of thing that I can add texture to. It just adds a lot of dimension. Okay, so that's how it would look with a photo. Let me bring it in if you wanted to put an embellishment cluster there. And you just put your base here, and then bring in like your title or your embellishments. Okay, so that's another great thing with punches like this, is think about how you can cut it up and use it just for a little pop of color or texture somewhere on your layout. And then I thought I wanted to see what it would look like if I backed each one. And for this, I did have to do a little bit of punching. I actually used the old Creative Memories 1-inch punch, but of course you can just cut that on your trimmer. And I think it took about 14, if I remember correctly, 14 little squares, and it fits really nicely behind there, you can see. And on the front, well, that one's not a great example, although I liked the look because on both ends I had a little bit of the triangle popping out, and I liked that. But you can see how the square fits really nicely behind each one. So a 1-inch cut, and there you go. And that one wasn't too hard. And the last one I wanted to show you before we make a quick border is what it looks like on a layout. Because I like to do it in halves a lot of times, like half of a strip instead of a whole strip. This is the project recipe for the Vintage Chic collection. Here it is down at the bottom. It's really only a half a piece on each side, and then again up at the top. And I just loved that look. I think it's just so beautiful, and we can do this with a lot of punches, but you can see how nice it looks with the elegant diamonds. Now let's make a quick border. We're going to use this one, since I already have it punched out. And I'm also going to bring in a piece of, this one's just on dark brown with our square chain. And we're going to layer it up like that. And you can see right away how that just changed the look of it already. And then I don't think it needs a lot. I really don't. I just love this punch so much. I don't want to cover it all up after I went through all the trouble of punching it and falling in love with it. So I want to just do another clump of a cluster like I did on the first one. I guess that's kind of my go-to if I want to see how beautiful it is and not cover too much up. I would just bring in here we go, like another cluster base, and put it right there. And again, you can move it to wherever, but I tend to like to come to the left hand side. And I would use this maybe to house my title. So I have this little sample as a title, and probably would pop that up onto some foam. Bring in a few other things, some leaves from our 5-leaf punch, and maybe just tuck them in. I would do probably 2. Yeah, and I'd put this up onto some foam for sure, and kind of cover up that area where they're kind of meeting there in the middle. So I have this open area here, and for that I would bring in something like maybe a sticker or a little butterfly or something like that. And there we go. Simple and quick. Of course, I didn't take the time to punch those out, but I think that you'll agree that they're both very useful. They have such a lot of purpose. So I hope that you liked that demonstration. I hope that you get inspired to maybe pull out your punches. I like to do this every time I get new punches. I just spend some time playing around with it and just seeing like what I can do with the tools and make them work for me, right? We have all these tools, we might as well get them out and use them. So I literally can sit here all day and and play with this and show probably more examples, but I don't want to keep you guys. This is just a little workshop to get you inspired. So I hope that helped, and I will see you next week, and we'll be back with another Keeping It Simple from our 101 idea book. Okay, well, take care, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.